Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Conversations That Changed Me. My name is Lucia Costin. I'm a rapid transformational therapist. And today we are going to talk about the question that's probably been keeping you up at night. You know, the one that we Google at 2 a.m. and we keep going over and over, trying to figure out the best solution. And that question is, should I stay or should I go? And if you've been asking yourself this question for a few weeks, maybe months, years, you already know it's exhausting. You make the pros and the con list, you ask your friends, you replay every conversation in your head. There's the shame, the confusion, the sheer paralysis. What if you're making a mistake? And here's what nobody tells you. You're not supposed to feel certain. It's not supposed to be 100%. You're not supposed to wake up one morning with this bolt of lightning clarifying everything, and you just know today's the day I leave. There's no amount of mindset work we can do to get that sort of clarity. That's not how love works. That's not how relationship works. And I've worked with a lot of women over the past year, and majority have said that they felt a threat when looking at their partners. Not joy, not laughter, just dread. But they also could not imagine a life without him. So they felt stuck. Some of them said that they stayed for practical reasons, the kids, the money, the house. Um, from outside, it's all picture perfect, no problems. Um, but there are no problems because the conflicts are maybe being ignored, problems are being brushed under the carpet. Everyone just pretends everything is fine, even when it's not, because we don't want to, you know, uh, have issues and let people think that it's not as pretty as it looks. And one thing that really got to me is one particular woman I've worked with, and she did everything she could. She turned every stone. She did therapy, the books, the being nicer, the more patient, the super understanding wife. And he she still felt that low level chronic tension, not disconnect, but that annoying feeling when there's nothing else to do, when you know you've tried every avenue and you knocked on every door. I don't know if this sounds familiar to you. And you kind of feel trapped, not because you're arguing all the time, but because you feel sad and stuck and burdened, and you have no idea how to move forward. Or maybe you feel so lonely that even if he's sitting right there next to you, you still feel this coldness between you. Maybe you're walking on eggshells because you're avoiding the landmines, pretending and performing to keep the peace. So many of us do this in relationships. We're so afraid of rocking the boat because then we will be perceived as all the time looking for trouble and never satisfied. And maybe, just maybe, you started daydreaming about what life would be like if you were on your own. And then you feel guilty for even thinking about it. And sister, I see you. And I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you feeling this way. So many of us do. So many of us picture a life where all of this is no longer there and we're happy on our own. And then guilt hits us from every corner possible. And here is what I've learned, both in my own life and in the work that I do with my clients. The most important question is, how much of myself am I willing to be while I'm figuring it out? So it's not about should I go or should I stay? It's about how much of myself I'm willing to be. How authentic am I willing to be while I'm figuring everything out? Because here's the truth, and it might hit hard and it might not be something you want to hear. We don't actually know which part will be better. Nobody knows how things will be after. Yes, it's a door closing, another one is opening. You make of it whatever you want to make of it. But at the end of the day, no one can tell you with exact certainty, yes, it's going to be 100% better. We can't predict the future. And of course, I speak here in general terms. If a relationship is extremely abusive, then I think we can all come to the same conclusion regarding those. We're not talking about extreme cases at this particular moment. Um, we, as I was saying, we don't know what will be 6 months from now, 1 year from now, and how the relationship might look like and how things may change. So instead of obsessing over what we do not know, let's focus on what we do know and what we can control and what we can influence and impact. And that's us, that's you. Not every feeling, not every fear, but your commitment to being as honest and as fully yourself as possible. So here's the question I want you to sit with today, and I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments, or you can email me, you can DM me, whatever suits you, whatever's best, but I would love to hear it. What would you need to be different for you to stay in the relationship? So what needs to change? What would need to be different for you to stay in the relationship? Not what he needs to do, not what the kids need to do, not a mom, relatives, all of this. What would need to be different? What do you need? Do you need to feel safe? Do you need to feel seen, supported, respected? Do you need more trust, more affection, a real conversation? You know, these are the things we need to take into consideration. Is that possible to achieve with my current partner? Because sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes he's willing to do the work. Sometimes you're willing to show up more honestly and more fully and see what happens. But sometimes, and I need you to hear this, sometimes the answer is no. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you didn't try hard enough. It doesn't mean the relationship didn't matter. It just means that continuing in the current dynamic costs you more than you're receiving. So here's what I want you to do. Stop waiting for certainty. That's never gonna happen. Don't wait for things to change. Don't wait for him to change. And don't wait for somebody else's permission. Start showing up as yourself right now, in this very moment. Say the things you've been afraid to say. Ask for what you need and stop pretending everything is fine when it's not. And thinking about saying the things you've been afraid to say, sometimes the answer from your partner might shock you in the sense that it can open up that conversation you've always wanted to have, but you were too scared to have it. And it's a challenge, but it's very beautiful when that happens. And it also reminds me of another story that I had where this couple said that, well, I know that when she has her towel on, as women, when we take a shower, we kind of wrap our head with a towel. And he said, well, if she has her towel on, which means if she just showered, there's no, um, like there will be no intimacy between us. I know that it's a sign. And she was like, from where are you getting this? Like they never had that conversation. He just assumed that in that particular moment she would not be available. And when they did have that conversation, it turned out that, well, it was a happy ending, let's just put it that way. So you deserve a relationship and a life that reflects who you are now in the present moment, not just who you were when you started that relationship. And if you need support figuring things out, I am here. That's what I do. I help women get unstuck. I help them find their voice, have those conversations that challenge everything. I want to hear your thoughts on today's question, and I want to know what would need to be different for you to stay in this relationship? What parts of yourself you feel that you must suppress, or what conversation you think it's too hard to have? Fear will all the time pull us back. But if we want to grow and if we want a more authentic relationship and the more intimate connection, the only way forward is by facing our fears. Change comes from within, and with this, I will leave you. Thank you very much for taking the time. See you next time. If you found it useful or you know someone who might benefit, subscribe and share this episode. Thank you.